Lord, make us instruments of your peace.
Where there is hatred, let us sow love.
Where there is injury, pardon.
Where there is doubt,
Faith. Where there is despair, hope.
Where there is darkness,
light. And where there is sadness, joy. O Divine Master,
grant that we may not so much seek
to be consoled as to console,
to be understood as to understand,
to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive,
it is in pardoning that we are pardoned,
and it is in dying that we are born to eternal life. Amen.
WESN.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi Magnish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Opposition leader vows to deport Venezuelan criminals by any means necessary. The Met Office issues an adverse weather alert. Firearms seized in Roxborough and welfare officer charged with fraud and money laundering. Now for the details. Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar has issued a stern call for decisive action against illegal Venezuelan migrants following the brutal murder of 69-year-old Winston Thomas in Golconda. Thomas was abducted from his home allegedly by Spanish-speaking men and later found dead in his car on the Sir Solomon Hotroy Highway with stab wounds to his head and his hands tied. In a statement on November 26, Persad-Bissessar expressed outrage, accusing illegal Venezuelan migrants of an increasing wave of violent crimes and warning that those involved in such acts will face deportation by any means necessary. She called on the Venezuelan community to assist the police in identifying criminals and urged migrants to either live peacefully and lawfully or leave the country. Persad-Bissessar declared that the safety of citizens must come first, saying enough is enough. The Met Office has issued a yellow level adverse weather alert and is advising people to monitor weather conditions and assess their surroundings before venturing out. The alert is in effect from 10:45 a.m. on November 26th to 4 p.m. on November 27th. An approaching trough is expected to bring periods of light to moderate showers with a 70% chance of heavier showers or thunderstorms intermediately between the 26th and 27th. This weather pattern increases the risk of landslips and landslides, especially in hilly areas such as the Northern Range. Additional impacts include street flash flooding and gusty winds near heavy downpours, the alert said. People should avoid driving or wading through floodwaters and follow the instructions of officials. An anti-crime exercise in the Roxborough Police District resulted in a firearm seizure. Around 3:30 p.m. on Monday, the 25th of November 2024, members of the Tobago Gang and Intelligence Unit acted on information and proceeded to Louis D'Or Bay, where they carried out searches in the surrounding areas, where PC Dates spotted 2 suspicious black plastic bags hidden beneath a blue shed. The bags contained 1 silver Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun and 1 Black Glock micro conversion kit. The items were seized and taken to the police station, where PC Dates will continue inquiries. A welfare officer appeared before High Court Master Casabon on Monday, 25th of November 2024, where she was granted bail in the sum of $250,000 with a surety. Deborah Griffith was arrested and charged with 18 counts of obtaining monies by false pretenses, 18 counts of money laundering, and 17 counts of uttering a false document. The accused was also ordered to surrender her passport to the Registrar of the Supreme Court by 28th of November 2024. She was also ordered to report to a specified police station twice per month on a specific day. The matter has been adjourned to 11th of March 2025. Investigations reveal that Griffith allegedly obtained a loan of $146,530.44 to purchase a vehicle. However, she allegedly failed to acquire the vehicle and used the funds for unrelated purposes. Further inquiries uncovered that between March 2014 and July 2015, Griffith allegedly submitted multiple fraudulent travel claims, pretending to have purchased and owned a vehicle to receive traveling benefits. The claims amounted to $36,611.30. The investigation was spearheaded by Inspector Francis and Sergeant Tony and conducted by Corporal Cummings, PC Khan, and PC Belfast. The fraud squad warns members of the public that altering information to gain financial or other benefits is a serious criminal offense. Such actions can result in criminal liability and prosecution. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
This holiday season, bring the magic of Christmas home with WESN's Joy of Christmas. Relive timeless classics from the laughter to the heartwarming moments that make the season unforgettable.
Hey, light the lamp, not the rat, light the lamp, not the rat!
Santa's coming to town! Oh my God!
Whoa!
Oh, the baby.
Experience the joy of WESN special productions, crafted to bring you new stories and cherished memories. This year, let WESN bring the joy of Christmas to your home.
Merry Christmas, Charlie Brown!
Catch the spirit, catch the joy.
Anchors away. May the force be with you.
Only on WESN, your content capital.
WESN.
Well, a very good morning and welcome to AM Prime on WESN Content Capital. I'm Keaton Shaw. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of the program. Well, we're getting straight into the conversation this morning as my guest is with us. And this actually focuses on spoken word in Trinidad and Tobago. And there is an event that is taking place at Central Bank Auditorium on November 30th to December 1st. And it is called Backwards, Borderlines Backwards. It's actually being hosted by two names highly associated with spoken word in Trinidad and Tobago. It started in 2018 by the National Poetry Slam winners Darren Sandy and Idris Salim. And these individuals, if you've been following spoken word, and the art form of spoken word in Trinidad and Tobago, these are two names highly associated with such. But this morning, to speak more on the event, I am joined by Mr. Sandy, and he joins us this morning in festive colors. It's the season of red. Good morning, Mr. Sandy. How are you doing?
Hey, good morning, good morning. This was the only shoot I didn't have to iron this morning. So.
Don't worry, it's the same thing with me. It's the easiest thing at 6 o'clock in the morning. Mr. Sandy, thanks very much for joining us on the program. The first thing that really intrigued me when I was reading about this particular event is the title of the event, the name of the event, Borderlines Backwards. Do you tell us how that name actually came into fruition? Like, what was the thinking behind this particular name, and why was it perfect for this event as such?
All right, so I'll start with the Borderlines part first, which is the name of the showcase. Every year it's called Borderlines, and every year we'll add a different theme to it. The term Borderlines really came about because we wanted to push spoken word poetry to the limit, show people that spoken word poetry is a highly performative art form with various ways of expressing thoughts not just the traditional standing behind the mic. So we'd add theater with it, we'd add music with it, we'd add dance with it, and we'd really put on a showpiece that people would not expect to really see when they come to the event Borderlines. It's also looking at the extremities of different things that happen in society and really giving the opportunity for people to think. So it's really pushing spoken word poetry as far as with the imagination allows us to push it. That's why we have the name Borderlines for our event every year. This year, the theme is backward. Every year we have a different theme. For example, last year we'd have done the beach. So backwards is looking at life from a different angle, one, but just thinking about the different ways that you could rewind life, the different concepts, superstitions, relationship, really the way people relate to each other. And when we added the term backwards to that, we came up with a lot of creative thoughts and concepts and presentations. So what comes to Borderlines backwards could be prepared to see a very, very interesting showcase, definitely something that folks would not have witnessed before. And definitely, I think it's going to be very thought-provoking, but also extremely entertaining and very family-friendly for anyone to really come out and enjoy the Saturday evening or Sunday evening.
How is that theme backwards relevant to us as a people and by extension the entire world in 2024, heading into 2025?
Well, for one, poetry is a reflection of life, right? I think the poets, especially spoken word poets, tell the stories of the people. It's a very culturally relevant art form. So you already have that element. When you add the theme backwards and you realize you're looking at life from a different angle or a different perspective, or you're seeing the timelines being warped in a sort of way, a very creative way, of really situations that we are accustomed to on a daily basis, then it gives people an added element of entertainment, because now I think they are allowed to see themselves, but see themselves differently, and maybe even garner new thoughts about themselves or new thoughts about different things that you might have been seeing all the time, but you may have never thought of it from that particular angle as well. And the way we do it generates a lot of humor, comedy, but there's also a certain level of enlightenment when somebody in the audience, I think, might pause and say, wow, really, this is how we have been thinking about this thing. Or maybe this is a really backwards mentality that we need to get rid of, that we have been inculcating into our everyday lives. So you highlight those things as well, but we also highlight the importance of going backwards sometimes, because sometimes you have to reflect on the past, but not hold on to the past. You also want to move forward. So there's also some lessons in it, some motivation, besides the entertainment. So I think it's a good night for anybody who wants to come out and really enjoy an evening of entertainment. Maybe it might be a date night or something like that. And it's good for young people as well to really see the art form being used to that extent.
This event takes place over the course of 2 days, November 30th to December 1st at Central Bank Auditorium. Are there different elements to this year's event?
Yes. We started off doing Borderlines for 1 day, but we really wanted to push ourselves to continue to grow the audience. That spoken word is a niche art form, but the people who attend, definitely they continue to attend. We try to emulate our craft after the great Paul Keynes Douglas and what he would have done for Talk 10 for so many years, the longest running oral art showcase in Trinidad and Tobago, and probably even the region. And we really want to grow our audience like that, so Borderlines could eventually become a household name. Of course, Central Bank Auditorium, we choose that venue because it's ideal for poetry. It holds a decent number of folk, but it's also very intimate, so people could lean into the poems, and you really want that experience. Sometimes when the audience is too far, it just don't have that same connect. And I think spoken word poetry definitely benefits from that connect and that intimacy. So we run it for the 2 days. It's the same show. So if you come Saturday night, you don't have to come Sunday. Although some people, when they come the Saturday night, they still come back the Sunday, and we appreciate that. And once tickets are available, of course, they'll be able to do that. But it's the same show on both nights. On Saturday night, we start at 7:30 and we start at 7:30 sharp. Gates open 30 minutes before. We also have a nice even outdoor experience. As soon as they walk in Central Bank, they'll be able to experience different things outside. Again, these are not things that might be that you might associate immediately with a spoken word poetry event, but we really try to create a real authentic experience. So people feel like if you're going to irregular fete, so to speak. But when you come in, of course, it's a different vibe, a different energy, but the same, if not equal or better entertainment value when they actually begin the show itself.
Well, in that respect, you just mentioned that it's still rather a niche market, and you're hoping to grow your following or to grow to the stature that Paul Keynes Douglas had with the talk tents, for example. But do you think that the subscription to spoken word in Trinidad and Tobago has grown over the last few years? Is it still growing, or is there a need for further development within the field?
Yeah, I think in an art form like this, there'll always be a need for further development. Now, the art form has experienced some significant strides over the past few years. As a matter of fact, from let's say 2013 to about 2019, I think that was like the peak of spoken word poetry in Trinidad and Tobago due to the work of the 2 Cents movement, both which I was a part of, and Digicel, and going into different secondary schools, primary schools, go touring regionally, internationally. Of course, the advent of the Free Speech Project on radio back in 2014, 15, around there, where spoken word poetry was playing 4 times a day, I believe, on 3 different radio stations. As long as with the 2 Cents movement's YouTube project called 2 Cents for Change. And at that time, of course, we didn't have so the proliferation of social media wasn't so intense. So when people saw one video, it's like, yeah, this is the video here. But now, I mean, there are so many things to pick up people's attention, and that's why I come saying that the spoken word poetry now needs that need for continued development, for continued visibility, and a lot of it just depends on the artists and the profession and the organizations responsible for pushing the art form to continue doing the work, to continue being visible, making a consistent presence on social media platforms, etc. So that spoken word poetry could stand up with all the other creative forms of storytelling that exist now, from Certified Samson and Kyle and all these guys are doing amazing work online. But spoken word poetry, of course, has its place as well. It's not always humorous, which is, Trinidadians like a good laugh. Sometimes there are some very serious topics in between, but still the onus is on the artist to craft whatever message that they're doing so it'll be palatable to the viewing public. And once you continue to get a good social media presence, you'd want to translate that into your live shows, because that is where you'll be able to sustain yourself. I think that's one of the things Paul Keynes recognized early back in the 1970s, that there need to be associations and ways for sustenance if the artist is going to survive. And he started doing publications, he started doing books, he started up an art association, etc., to really organize and mobilize the oral art form. And we just need to continue more or less following the blueprint is there. The blueprint has been set there. So we need to take that, translate it to 2024 and continue to run with it. And I think Borderlines is an important part of growing that industry in Trinidad and Tobago at the moment.
So then how do you, I was getting to that actually, and that's the last point that you just made. How do events like these actually lead to the development or further development of the art form and the encouragement of younger talents, those who may not have had the exposure but want a platform to actually practice their art form? How does this events such as these actually lead to that?
Well, for the past 3 years, Borderlines, we have always included younger artists on the cast. We had young artist Michelle Henry last year and Shamaya Lewis on the cast. We always integrate younger people into the art form, so they are around the rehearsal process. They are a critical part of the marketing and management of the show itself, just giving them the opportunity. And a lot of them that we use are poets, young poets, etc. And sometimes we bring them onto the cast for them to really get that experience. So, and you need to do that, because I guess we sort of in the age of partnerships, whereby you can't do these things alone. There's no longer you just standing up and doing something by yourself. You need a team, and you definitely need the support of younger people, because that's how your market going to grow. In 2019, we had secondary schools attending Borderlines on a special day we designated just for them, and we sort of adjusted a show specific to them, and we want to go back to that model next year as well. So the show would be 3 days long, with 1 day being just for school children, as we had it in 2019. And that's how you grow the new art form, by tapping into these markets. Definitely the markets I think will benefit the most out of it, which are the schools, young people, young children. We also have a lot of children material, and when I say children in this case, I'm not talking secondary school children, I'm talking about primary school children. Idris and I used to do a lot of performances in primary school, and I still do a lot of graduations, etc., and give them something unique. And you just have to take that and translate that into a product that could be sold, by finding out what the needs of the customer, and you really have to treat yourself like a business. You are a spoken word poet, yes, but you are definitely also a business person, and you must have that mindset. Getting corporate Trinidad to invest this year, we were fortunate to have the support of Z's Alignment and Auto Repairs, and you wouldn't just associate a auto repair shop with spoken word poetry, but you have to try to leverage these partnerships. So in the partnerships, we'd have created really interesting ads for them using spoken word poetry to kind of push what they are doing. And such is the nature of the art form. It's very versatile, and it's up to you as the artist to find ways where you could sustain yourself, but you really have to stretch what you consider spoken word poetry to be naturally.
Is this market becoming one where individuals can't sustain themselves full time?
I have been a full-time artist from 2014 to 2020, and during the pandemic, a little after the pandemic, I started using the art to sort of teach creative writing as well, using the art form. So it is possible because I have done it. It takes a lot of work, it takes a lot of planning, it takes the backing of different organizations. Of course, at that time, Two Cents Movement was doing a lot of different work that they needed full-time people to invest in. It would have been impossible for the art form to make the strides that it made over the past few years without full-time investment. So it is possible. Every artist having their own showcase, the important part of it, a big showcase that you could really a decent profit once you plan it properly and you market yourself and you push yourself. It's not easy, because it's not like we have a waiting appetite for people interested in spoken word. You have to continue to find the audience. Yes, you have your loyal supporters that continue to come every year, and you want to maintain that standard and that experience for them, because they are very important in what you do. But at the same time, as you were saying before, you have to continue to expand, and you have to find ways to expand, whether it be tapping into school markets, tapping into corporate Trinidad, doing workshops with folks, and just every audience here you pass through, see if you could hold a few people from that audience to filter into your regular customer base.
Based on what you said, though, you are getting the support of corporate Trinidad. You seem to be getting that backing. Is it significant enough, actually?
Well, I don't want to sound greedy, but you always want more. You always want an additional push. At the moment, for Borderlines, it's definitely significant enough. For the show this year, we had tremendous support from Z's Alignment and Auto Repairs and a few other partners just coming on board when they saw what was going on. We have an excellent marketing team working behind the scenes to help us leverage different opportunities, etc. But you always want more. You don't want just sustenance for this one event at this one point of the year. The goal is you really want to get support for different initiatives throughout the year. That is how you will sustain yourself as an artist, getting that support for, let's say, 3-4 initiatives that you do during the year. Not all might be performances. Sometimes it may be in the form of workshops, or sometimes it may be in the form of just some corporate partnership when you're providing performances for an organization throughout the year, for whether it be Emancipation, Diwali, whatever the festival is. Sometimes, like, corporation celebrating the anniversary is just doing some performances for a company this week here, leading up to the show that's celebrating the anniversary. Because there are so many ways to use spoken word poetry, but people wouldn't know unless you market it to them and you continue showing them and having a visible presence online and reaching out for yourself and making connections, etc. And I think that's how you really go forward.
Well, Mr. Sandy, I'll tell you what, it sounds very promising, and based on what you said, certainly the industry has grown and developed, but there, of course, is more room for improvement. The event is taking place this weekend. It's right around the corner at Central Bank Auditorium, 2 days, Saturday the 30th and Sunday the 1st. Where can people get tickets or more information?
All right, of course, you could follow me there and Sandy Performance Poet, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You could always send a message. We're always there willing to respond. But you could get your tickets if you're in Port of Spain. You could just head on over to Henry Street, opposite Mohammed's bookstore. There's a store called Boom's World. We have tickets inside there. If you're from the east, you could get them in Arima, Omera Road, by King's Lounge, Barber Spa. That Barber Spa is hard to miss. It's by the Omera shopping complex right there. And then we have them online, and you can access the online platform with your local debit card. It's carrytickets.com. That's the name of the website, carrytickets.com. You could really get your tickets anywhere. If you message us and we're nearby, we have been dropping tickets to people personally throughout this week. We'll be at Central Bank Auditorium box office tomorrow from midday, where you could come get your tickets there, and folks who already bought their tickets could pick up their merchandise, etc. at Central Bank tomorrow. So you have a lot of options, and we really hope that you could be part of the experience come this weekend here, November 30th and December the 1st. It's going to be an experience that you'll never forget, something that you could take with you into 2025, borderlines backward.
Excellent. Well, Mr. Sandy, to you and Mr. Salim, congratulations on all the hard work. And this event obviously shows all that has been invested into the industry on both your parts. So to you, to your partners and all those involved or participating, congratulations and all the very best for the events ahead and for the coming year.
Thanks very much, Keita, and I appreciate that. And same to you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Take care. All the very best to you.
All right, take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, as Mr. Sandy mentioned, you simply can follow himself on social media. He's available on all platforms, or you can simply visit that store, Boom's, opposite Mohammed's Bookstore in Port of Spain, for tickets, or King's Barber Lounge in Arima. They're also willing to meet you at a convenient location to drop off these tickets. So support the local artists and all those involved or participating this weekend. As we say, we support local talent. The development of the spoken word industry in Trinidad and Tobago really has been incredible over the last few years. And it's good to see that those whom we can refer to as veterans in the industry, as leaders in the industry, are taking a leading hand in allowing the younger talent to develop their skills, but also laying platforms for them to, of course, have that development spot. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on the program. Still a bit more to get into on AM Prime this morning, so stay with us when we welcome our next guest. We'll be right back.
Simon's Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in new and used musical instruments, carrying top brands like Yamaha, Pearl River pianos, vinyl and Sabian cymbals, Remo and Evans drum heads and Fender guitars, just to name a few. Also a wide assortment of music books, pan and accessories. At Simon's, we service what we sell. Trust the leader. Call us now at 625-6412 or visit us at 20 Board Street, Port of Spain.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
SM Group International Limited, your solutions partner for the latest innovations, brands and competent staff to meet your needs. We provide products and services in the following divisions: executive services, event rental and services, power and heavy equipment, construction and property management, food and beverage, aggregate and sales and distribution. Check out more on our products and services at www.smgrouptt.com. Contact us at 221-7445 or email at info@smgrouptt.com. We are SM Group International, your solutions partner.
Welcome back to AM Prime, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for being with us this morning as we continue the conversation focusing on an issue, a concern that the alarm bells are ringing, not necessarily that we want you to panic, but this is a situation of concern. Diabetes amongst children in Trinidad and Tobago are on the rise, especially with the increasing prevalence of cases of type 2 diabetes. The most concerning thing that I have read from the report that was put forward is that there seems to be a link between COVID-19 and the onset of type 1 diabetes. But let's get into that conversation as I welcome to the program the president of the Diabetes Association of Trinidad and Tobago, Dr. Andrew Danu. Good morning, Dr. Danu, and thank you very much for joining us on AM Prime.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me, of course. I'm glad to be here.
Well, Dr. Danu, as I mentioned in my introduction, this is a situation that, as we said, we don't want people to necessarily panic, but there is cause for concern. Is that they're seeing increased prevalence of type 2 diabetes, but as I also mentioned, COVID-19, there seems to be some link between that and type 1 diabetes. Let's start there. Exactly what is being noticed within these cases? How has there come to a point where doctors have determined there is a link between COVID-19 in children and type 1 diabetes?
Yeah. So, of course, type 1 diabetes, so many persons, they're unsure of the difference between type 1 and type 2. Type 2 being the most common, and about 95% of persons with diabetes will develop type 2. Type 1 is rare, in that only 5% of the people with diabetes will have type 1. Type 1 is an autoimmune disease, which simply means that for reasons that may not be common among all persons or not entirely sure of, the body acts on the pancreatic cells as though it's a foreign organism or foreign invader. Its immune system, of course, is going to destroy the cells, the beta cells in particular, and these are the cells that produce insulin and over a very short period of time stop producing insulin. Now, there are many triggers for type 1 diabetes. Some triggers can be environmental, some triggers could be viral infections, but of course, a trigger simply means that there may be an underlying genetic susceptibility, and then the trigger is going to cause exhibition of the disease at that point in time. Of course, it's usually triggered early in life, and this is where persons with type 1 diabetes is diagnosed very early on, so from a few months old all the way into your teens or even early 20s. Now, one of these viruses, which have always triggered type 1 diabetes, has been the coronavirus, and coronaviruses have been around a long time, of course. SARS-CoV-2, one of the coronaviruses we were most familiar with over the last few years, which causes COVID-19, would also be one of these viruses that would have triggered type 1 diabetes. Now, there have been studies, not in Trinidad, but of course around the world, which has shown the link between increased COVID-19 infections and the triggering of type 1 diabetes. Now, we've seen it, of course, and we can give you anecdotal evidence in Trinidad to say that that has also been the cause, because many children who would have now joined the organization, or their families joining the organization with recent type 1 diabetes development, would have also reported a COVID-19 infection around the same time of diagnosis. Now, there may be other reasons for this, but of course, recently, for example, there's a study just reported in the UK where they saw substantial increases in type 1 diabetes diagnosis, and they linked it to COVID-19. Now, again, this is one of the reasons why it's important to detect early a child living with type 1 diabetes. It's important to, of course, notice the symptoms, because type 1 diabetes can develop over a very short period of time. A few days to a few weeks, you could be developing symptoms, and you could child get very, very sick if the parent doesn't notice these symptoms very quickly. So this is the reason why, of course, we're able to put out that. And we know that in Trinidad, we have a few hundred children living with type 1 diabetes. As I said, it's rare compared to type 2, but it's very detrimental to the child's life, simply because the entire lifestyle of the child and the family needs to change now that the child needs to take medication for the rest of their lives.
For the rest of their lives, that's, well, I would assume that, given that it is, as you mentioned, an autoimmune disease. But what are those signs that families need to look out for in respect to type 1 diabetes? What are the alarm bells, as you say, that should be ringing in parents' heads when they're observing their children and their children's health in respect to
Yeah.
type 1 diabetes?
Yeah. So the signs of type 1 and type 2 are the same. And of course, this is the reason why a lot of people mistake and confuse type 1 versus type 2. The causes are different, but the signs are the same. The treatment is often very similar. But the overall signs of diabetes, you'll notice that there are four signs. And these four signs, if you notice them in tandem, it usually means that you need to get checked out. It means that you need to see the physician and get tested. Um, Four signs are one, increased thirst. Increased thirst referred to as polydipsia. And you have increased thirst because with diabetes, you have elevated blood sugar levels. Elevated blood sugar level means that your body wants to equilibrate or restore the balance of water in your blood. So therefore, you feel thirsty. So you drink more water. Because you drink more water, then the water has to go somewhere. So you're going to urinate more. So you have polyuria. So the person obviously is going to pee more and urinate more. When you're urinating, a lot of the sugar that is in your blood that's supposed to be going towards fuel in your body is now also removed during urination. When the sugar is now removed, you're going to feel very tired and sluggish simply because the sugar is no longer fuel in your body. And that leads to so that's the third symptom, feeling lethargic, feeling tired, all of a sudden, and it being unexplained. And if it is that the sugar is not being used in the body, then your body needs to turn to fat. So here's where fat is burned and you have sudden weight loss. So these are the four main signs of diabetes onset, whether it's type 1 or type 2. It's increased thirst, increased urination, sudden weight loss, and feeling very tired or lethargic. Now, in particular for children, it may be hard to notice, but one particular sign for children is bedwetting. Now, if a child hasn't wet the bed or hasn't wet the bed in a long time and then they suddenly start wetting the bed or they suddenly start to feel very, very thirsty beyond, the norm, then it may be a sign for concern. So when you do see a child doing that, wetting the bed, you do see a child feeling very tired, feeling very thirsty, even sometimes feeling very hungry, then unexplained for no reason, and I mean at any age this can happen, then you need to take the child to the physician.
Dr. Daru, every individual is different, of course, so not all cases will be the exact same thing. But generally speaking, what would you define as being increased thirst? How could one individual say or realize that, hold on, I'm drinking more water. This is nothing that I picked up before, but now that I think about it, probably watching this interview, I'm drinking a lot more water. What would you really find as frequent urination as compared to normal urination? Because some people might be watching this interview and thinking, hold up, wait, just to get an understanding, how would you define those two symptoms?
Yeah, and you're quite right. I mean, for different persons, there'll be a different definition for what frequent really is. And that's why it really depends on the individual, because then some persons naturally urinate quite often, and that has been their norm all of their lives. Some persons often sip on a lot of water, and that's drinking water is not a bad thing, of course, but if you're feeling thirsty more than usual, and here's where the frequency comes in. So if it is more than usual, you're starting to feel thirsty, more than usual, you are urinating. And I mean, anyone could notice it. I mean, if you usually urinate 2 or 3 times for the day, and then now every single hour you need to urinate, or you need to get up during the night and urinate, that's important to note as well, because that may be a symptom that persons may not have had before. So getting up, having to get up in the night, and here's where a child may not be able to get up in the night or know that they should get up in the night, and that's where bedwetting is going to come in there. So again, it depends on the individual, and once you notice an increased frequency, then you should check. And of course, it's in tandem with all of the other symptoms. So there's four symptoms together. Of course, there are many more symptoms, yeah, but these are the most common, the four most common.
And the thing is, as you mentioned as well, this is something that will affect the child for the rest of their life because they would then be on insulin for the rest of their life, and they would need the support systems that go along with taking insulin as well. But moving to the more common form of diabetes, the more prevalent form of diabetes, which is type 2 diabetes. Uh, could you tell us now, you described to us what type 1 is. Exactly what is type 2?
Yeah. So type 2 would really be the type of diabetes we most often associate with adults. It used to be called adult onset, and we really talk about type 2 as being caused by lifestyle or being caused by a host of factors associated with lifestyle. So poor diets, being sedentary, not being active enough, smoking, excess alcohol consumption, all of those things would lead to obesity, and that's one of the main reasons why type 2 diabetes is developing. And because now we're seeing these factors in children, because we're now seeing more and more overweight and obese children, we're seeing the development of type 2 diabetes earlier and earlier. So no longer is type 2 diabetes called adult onset, and no longer are we only seeing it in older people. We're seeing it in younger persons, so persons in their prime, so persons in their 30s and 40s, in their 20s and now in their teens. So we're seeing very young children as well developing type 2 diabetes, and of course the precursor to type 2, which is pre-diabetes. Now we know of this because of course we do activities throughout the country which monitor and work with children who are at risk for diabetes, or child lifestyle camp, for example. And we do have quite a lot of children who need this type of help. Of course, the Ministry of Health does activities as well throughout the country, but we do need to intervene more. Because the thing is, with pre-diabetes, there can be interventions that could prevent or delay the onset of type 2 diabetes. So once we're able to detect these children early enough and we're able to guide them, we're able to intervene appropriately, not just in the children, because I mean, the family is one of the main reasons why they may be developing this condition. So we intervene in the family's life, and here's where we're able to have more sustainable interventions and prevention of the development of type 2 diabetes.
Well, actually, Dr. Danu, coming back to the point that you just mentioned as well, the onset of diabetes, pre-diabetes, is that the pre-diabetes can be considered when you start seeing the very first symptoms or signs of diabetes within your body, within your system?
Yeah. Well, yes, sometimes. I mean, pre-diabetes is often asymptomatic. If it is that you're not detecting it, if you're not seeing the signs, but there are signs of pre-diabetes that you should look out for, especially if you're overweight, especially if you have darkening on the skin, on the neck, on the creases of the skin. That's one sign of hyperinsulinemia, high insulin production, which is a sign of insulin resistance, precursor to pre-diabetes. So yes, noticing the signs are important. And of course, being able to detect it early is important as well. For persons with prediabetes, you may take a random blood sugar and you may not have an elevation in the blood sugar. Only very rarely, or rather only at some points in time, if you take a fasted blood sugar, you might be able to detect that there's a slight elevation. But there are other tests that you should do. So yes, I think persons should be able to test regularly their blood sugars, and in particular do an HbA1c test. And the HbA1c test will be able to allow us to determine if the person may be in a pre-diabetic range or a diabetic range or a healthy range.
That even the different ranges is something that I'm not necessarily familiar with, so I'm glad that you mentioned that. But the increased prevalence of type 2 diabetes in children, is that directly linked to lifestyle, to diet? Is there a direct link between children who may have poor diets, may lead inactive lifestyles, that they have an onset, or is there more so linked to pre-existing medical conditions?
Yeah. Definitely it's linked to lifestyle. I think for the most part it is. Of course, there are pre-existing medical conditions that would lead children to developing, well, being overweight and obese, and then of course diabetes. These include Down syndrome. They also include Prader-Willi. You may even have children who have some certain genetic susceptibilities that would lead them to developing type 2 diabetes. But for the most part, it is environmental. It is a lifestyle. Um, and while there may be genetic susceptibilities, the environment is really where we think the family influences most. Meaning that you may think, okay, well, okay, I have diabetes in my family, so it's inevitable. Or I have family who's very big, so it's inevitable. And no, that doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to develop diabetes or you're going to be big. But one of the reasons why persons do um, fulfill the genetic susceptibility, the genetic potential, I would say, is because of the environment. The way that the parents and grandparents cook, for example, is often the way that the children may learn to cook. The activity levels of the family as well is often translated through the entire family. So this is important to note. Yeah.
Actually, Dr. Don, not that I want to jump all over the place, but bringing it back, since we're speaking about diabetes in children, could you just speak to gestational diabetes for a moment and whether or not you're also seeing increased cases of such happening? What causes gestational diabetes?
So gestational diabetes, of course, is during pregnancy.
Yeah.
It's often diagnosed after the first trimester. Now, I can't say for sure if we have a increased number of gestational diabetes cases. However, for many women who have developed gestational diabetes, they may have been pre-diabetic before, meaning that they would have had pre-diabetes before, or have risks of developing type 2 diabetes. And that's one of the facts that we know about. Of course, because of course we do have more people with pre-diabetes, we now know that we would have more gestational diabetes. Now, gestational diabetes often goes away once the woman loses the weight after pregnancy, once everything settles back down after pregnancy. But often some women don't, and some women continue to be or have the diabetic symptoms. And then, of course, gestational diabetes is now diagnosed as type 2 diabetes. Gestational diabetes, of course, is very dangerous for the woman. It's very dangerous for the pregnancy. And, of course, it poses a lot of risk for the fetus and then, of course, the growing baby. There are many consequences of a woman with high blood sugar because it makes childbirth more difficult. But of course, as I said, it gives greater risk for the child growing up to be an overweight or obese child or the child developing diabetes as well. So all of these are concerns which need to be considered, and this is why, of course, prenatal care is so important. Um, and even before the woman actually becomes pregnant, before conception, um, consultation should be and again we don't do this in Trinidad when you actually think of before you actually get pregnant, what are some considerations that should be made. Sometimes losing weight before you get pregnant should be important because if the woman is overweight and you become pregnant, then it increased risk of developing gestational diabetes. So these considerations should be made to be able to limit or reduce these numbers.
Well, as I said, Dr. Dunn, I don't mean to jump all over the place, so thank you very much for addressing that as well. But now coming to the point of making an effort, it's not news that everyone wants to receive, of course. It's not news that everyone can handle. But what are the things that we can do? What effort is needed to try and treat yourself and help yourself during your course of treatment? Could diabetes even be reversed?
So one thing is diabetes has no cure. And once it's diagnosed as diabetes, whether it's type 1 or type 2, and especially type 1, there's no cure or reversal for type 1. So type 1 diabetes is type 1 diabetes for the rest of your life, and it's just how it's dealt with. Now, of course, there are many advances in medicine, which we're very hopeful about, which would be able to provide one day an artificial pancreas that will allow us to be able to essentially cure type 1 diabetes. But for now, there isn't. For type 2 diabetes, of course, I wouldn't say it can be reversed, but it can be controlled, and you could have remission towards a healthier state. Because for type 2 diabetes, it's not just uh, like an infection. If you have it or you don't have it, it's not like that. It's more of a spectrum towards healthy to and on the other hand, having very poor blood glucose control. Now, anyway, along that spectrum, you have intervention, and the interventions can be through medicine, or it can be um, through lifestyle intervention, which of course is needed. Then you could revert back to a healthier state. So yes, you could have remission of the disease towards healthier states, but we don't use the word cure because if it is that you go back to that healthier state and you're controlling your blood sugar now, and you go back to the things that you used to do, um, you're going to develop the symptoms again. So, for example, I always like to use the analogy that if you're not living with diabetes, you could eat an entire cake, and your body, like a whole cake right now, and your body has mechanisms in place to deal with the sugar, and your blood sugars are not going to go up excessively, and your body will deal with that sugar, whether it is you burn it off, or whether it is you store it as fat. And of course, the body does that healthily. If it is that you're living with diabetes, then eating that whole cake means that your body can't deal with that amount of sugar. So your blood sugars are going to rise very, very quickly and very high until eventually it's going to come back down. Now, if you control the diabetes, that means that, of course, you're not eating as much cake, you exercising more, you're taking the medications which will help, then your blood sugars are not going to be controlled, but that doesn't mean you're cured, because at that point in time, you could still eat the whole cake, and then all of the trouble is going to come back again because, of course, your body's not able to deal with that glucose load. So that's important to note about control versus cure.
Well, thank you very much indeed for that, Dr. Danu. And as we're nearing the end of this interview, thank you very much for your time for this extended conversation. The Diabetes Association of Toronto is, of course, doing their part in educating families, but also assisting them. Could you please just explain a bit further as per that role that the association is playing in really helping Toronto, particularly families who are affected by diabetes?
Sure. And yeah, we do quite a lot of work with families affected, because of course we work with the entire family of children who are diagnosed with diabetes. We have a diabetic support group for our children living with diabetes, which involves support of the parents. So of course we have this system in place where questions could be asked any time of the day. We're now providing continuous glucose monitors for these children, and we provide continuous education. We have camps for the children, which we do annually. Right now we do them a couple times a year. So lots of activities for parents and children for type 1 diabetes, and of course for type 2, we also have our child lifestyle camp, which we use to support children at risk for diabetes. We also do a lot of activities in schools, and I mean, besides the normal activities we do at the association, which involve community involvement and community education. We have lots of activities in schools. We have our diabetes quiz for primary schools. We have our sixth form internship. Actually, this Friday, we have all the finals of our debate competition for Form 3s and 4s. So we have quite a lot of engagement in the schools and quite a lot of engagement in communities to be able to assist and educate.
In closing, Dr. Danu, any final thoughts or messages that you'd like to share with the viewing audience?
Sure. I think if persons would like to reach out to the association or would like to get assistance, know of a child that may be living with diabetes or need some help in any way, you could give us a call. Our phone numbers are 607-3288. You could also reach us on Facebook, on Instagram, even on TikTok. Just search for the Diabetes Association Trinidad and Tobago. Our head office is in Chaguanas, where we have branches located across Trinidad and Tobago, which you can access. So give us a call or send us a message, and we'll be able to assist you.
Dr. Danu, thank you very much for your time this morning and for all your work, and the entire team at the association for all their work really in assisting those most in need who are suffering with diabetes. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
All the very best. Take care. Ladies and gentlemen, particularly in the instance of type 2 diabetes, it's your life. look after it. The gift of life is, well, it's priceless, isn't it? As I say, it's a miracle. But part of that is you looking after your body, you looking after your well-being. So lifestyle practices such as just being active, getting up and walking. They say sitting down, stillness is the newest form of cancer. Being active is it goes a long way, not just now, but of course extends your life. And even the food or the habits that you adopt, that is a huge factor as well. Now, I'm not one to preach. I haven't had the healthiest of habits, but you make efforts and you try along the way and you push and you encourage others. And in doing so, it helps you as well. So we can all help the situation by helping ourselves. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break here on AM Prime. We've got Wild Wednesday coming up, so stay tuned for that with Ricardo Mead after this.
Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi Magnish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. Opposition leader vows to deport Venezuelan criminals by any means necessary. The Met Office issues an adverse weather alert. Firearms seized in Roxborough and welfare officer charged with fraud and money laundering. Now for the details. Opposition leader Kamla Persad-Bissessar has issued a stern call for decisive action against illegal Venezuelan migrants following the brutal murder of 69-year-old Winston Thomas in Golconda. Thomas was abducted from his home allegedly by Spanish-speaking men and later found dead in his car on the Sir Solomon Hochoy Highway with stab wounds to his head and his hands tied. In a statement on November 26, Persad-Bissessar expressed outrage, accusing illegal Venezuelan migrants of an increasing wave of violent crimes and warning that those involved in such acts will face deportation by any means necessary. She called on the Venezuelan community to assist the police in identifying criminals and urged migrants to either live peacefully and lawfully or leave the country. Persad-Bissessar declared that the safety of citizens must come first, saying enough is enough. The Met Office has issued a yellow level adverse weather alert and is advising people to monitor weather conditions and assess their surroundings before venturing out. The alert is in effect from 10:45 a.m. on November 26th to 4 p.m. on November 27th. An approaching trough is expected to bring periods of light to moderate showers with a 70% chance of heavier showers or thunderstorms intermediately between the 26th and 27th. This weather pattern increases the risk of landslips and landslides, especially in hilly areas such as the Northern Range. Additional impacts include street flash flooding and gusty winds near heavy downpours, the alert said. People should avoid driving or wading through floodwaters and follow the instructions of officials. An anti-crime exercise in the Roxborough Police District resulted in a firearm seizure. Around 3:30 p.m. on Monday, the 25th of November 2024, members of the Tobago Gang and Intelligence Unit acted on information and proceeded to Louis D'Or Bay, where they carried out searches in the surrounding areas, where PC Dates spotted 2 suspicious black plastic bags hidden beneath a blue shed. The bags contained 1 silver Mossberg 12-gauge shotgun and 1 Black Glock micro conversion kit. The items were seized and taken to the police station, where PC Dates will continue inquiries. A welfare officer appeared before High Court Master Casabon on Monday, 25th of November 2024, where she was granted bail in the sum of $250,000 with a surety. Deborah Griffith was arrested and charged with 18 counts of obtaining monies by false pretenses, 18 counts of money laundering, and 17 counts of uttering a false document. The accused was also ordered to surrender her passport to the Registrar of the Supreme Court by 28th of November 2024. She was also ordered to report to a specified police station twice per month on a specific day. The matter has been adjourned to 11th of March 2025. Investigations reveal that Griffith allegedly obtained a loan of $146,530.44 to purchase a vehicle. However, she allegedly failed to acquire the vehicle and used the funds for unrelated purposes. Further inquiries uncovered that between March 2014 and July 2015, Griffith allegedly submitted multiple fraudulent travel claims, pretending to have purchased and owned a vehicle to receive traveling benefits. The claims amounted to $36,611.30. The investigation was spearheaded by Inspector Francis and Sergeant Tony and conducted by Corporal Cummings, PC Khan, and PC Belfast. The fraud squad warns members of the public that altering information to gain financial or other benefits is a serious criminal offense. Such actions can result in criminal liability and prosecution. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for watching.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Give us a call at 235-5479.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378 or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
It's Wild Wednesday. Please join me as I welcome Ricardo Meade to the platform. Hello.
Good morning.
Sorry, I said please join me, knowing that there's no round of applause for the live audience. Yeah.
Oh, we can fake it.
We can fake it. How are you doing?
Great, absolutely wonderful, thrilled, joyful. It's just, it's a wonderful day.
You're in a good mood.
A wonderful way. Oh yeah, definitely. I am in a great mood. Good doesn't really describe it.
Excellent. Care to share some of that great mood with us?
Well, the countdown is really on. We're hours, a day and some hours away from Wheels Up, as we like to call it. We'll be getting on a plane and we'll be heading to Panama. That'll be 11 of us from the Wildlife Center heading to Panama. But no, we're not going to Panama to shop and to bring back the world to Trinidad. In fact, we are actually backpacking. That means there's no checked luggage, it's just your backpack. So we're going on a trip for a week. All that you need must fit within that backpack, 22 pounds, no more. It's a little part of being a little efficient.
Yes, efficient.
Yeah, because put it this way, as environmentalists, It's bad enough we have to use a plane. We're using a plane. But we don't need to take more than we really need. Okay, that's part of the understanding of how we should try to operate going forward. You don't need more than that. So we're going to take what we need and do what we go for, which is to learn, educate, build our capacity, and come on back and teach the younger volunteers and other people who want to join the establishment about what we have learned. And we intend to learn a lot, because from Panama is just 8 hours, we head over to Belize. So while in Belize, we have Wild Tracks, we have the Belize Raptor Center, we have the Belize Zoo, so many places there in Belize to learn from.
Raptor Center?
Yes, Raptor Center, Birds of Prey, they do some amazing work. We'll be learning to use the X-ray machine, so we're going to come back and hopefully get our own X-ray machine so we can do our radiographs in-house. So less stress on the animals. Instead of getting the animals in, taking them to a veterinary hospital, we will have it right there available in our wildlife hospital. So that will improve time, quality of service delivered to these animals, and hopefully increase even further our release rates. So it all comes down to the animals. Then we go across to Guatemala.
You go in Central America coming down.
Yeah, we go to Guatemala. They have one of the best wildlife sanctuaries in the world. We have to experience that because we're also moving locations. And when we set up some of the protocols and things that we see there, we hope to employ here to raise our standard to that international standard. And then on the last night, really, we dock into Mexico. And Mexico is more for chill out, but there are some wildlife places around that we intend to get in, but no pressure on anyone. It's just after a week of just going, and a little sleep, just a little chill, a little tequila.
Well, wildlife, yeah, wildlife.
Right, yeah, get wildlife, you know.
After 2 shots of tequila, wildlife.
Yeah, the nightlife represents a lot of wildlife. So, and then right back over to Belize and back to Trinidad, back to reality, as they say.
And backpacking, 22 pounds. Okay, so 7 pairs of underwear, change of clothes, and a toothbrush.
Pretty much, you know. You have your underwear, your socks, your boots that you're wearing, what's on your clothes, what's on your body is one set, and it's minimal.
You're just good to go.
It's just what you need. You don't need anything more, you know. You don't need to have your hair dry and do all your hair and stuff like that there. A ponytail. I intend to do my hair as minimal as possible, so I will be cutting mine. You know I comb my hair, right? Have you seen me comb my hair?
No, I haven't.
Really, it's just a matter of doing that. And I'm ready for them. I'm ready for them. So I'm already, I don't just talk it. I'm living a life that just takes a little less resources out of this planet, so we can leave something for the future generation.
Now, you've brought a guest with you. I'm thrilled for you guys, by the way, and enjoy it, make the most of it. But we've got a VIP guest with us this morning.
Yes, a very iconic animal. If you had asked people, which animal represents Trinidad and Tobago?
Which animal represents Trinidad and Tobago? Papa Boa.
You know that's my nickname, right?
They call you Papa Boa?
Yeah.
Okay, well then
Papa
Boa.
Papa Bear.
People might probably say, honestly, Scar's Ebis. That's the first thing that's going to come to mind because it's...
Well, that only represents Trinidad. But the hummingbird represents Trinidad and Tobago. Mm-hmm. You don't see the scarlet ibis everywhere, but you see the hummingbird everywhere. Let's start off with Caribbean Airlines.
Yes, yeah.
Their tail fin is the hummingbird. The police service, in the middle of their star is the hummingbird. TT Post.
It's the hummingbird.
Or 5-cent piece. Or is it all 1-cent piece? A $20 bill. So it's so many, it's everywhere.
Are we doing this currency game again?
No, we're not going to do currency game. But it's everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
Right? It's everywhere because Trinidad and Tobago was known as the
land of the hummingbird.
Right. And our original name, right? I ask this a lot and people are very confused. That's why we have to keep pushing and pushing education. I ask people our original name and people are like Trinity and so on. I'm like, that is when Columbus came here. Okay, and he didn't see any Trinity Hills. Okay, he told Ferdinand and Isabella, the next land that I discover in the New World will be named for the Holy Trinity. So if he landed in Tobago, Tobago would have been called Trinidad.
Not Magdalena.
Okay, so people need to understand that. But before Columbus discovered or arrived here, and, word has it that he actually never put foot on Trinidad, but, his people, the Spaniards, came here. We had a name. They never used to say, people lived here, and they never used to say, over there, we're going over. So it had a name
as
for that
we
place,
do now.
Right? Yeah, there's a name. In fact, there were two names. One is Ayuri, like Irie Village down in Princestown, and the other is Yeret.
Not Irie. Not Irie.
Yeah, Irie is the real name. Irie and Yeret. So that's what's our name. So when the kids in Venezuela said, Mom, I'm going into the dugout this weekend. Where are you going? Well, we're going across the Yeret and we're just going to hang out there. You know, there's a nice beach down there. That's what it was like. So the truth is the Vennies were here for a very, very long time. This was their backyard. This was their playground. This was their down the island. Think of it that way.
Well, they said you know, they suggest that TNT broke off from South America.
Yeah. The geography and the geology proves that. There's no doubt about that. And that's why we are very different from any other Caribbean island, including Tobago. Tobago is volcanic and coral. And we are literally break off from those mountains and hills and carried on. That's why our ecosystem is so diverse and resembles more South America than the Caribbean islands.
So, what's the name of I think you could bring VIP guest on set.
So our guest today is our iconic animal in Trinidad, our iconic bird. It is the hummingbird.
Can we get a zoom in on that so people can see? The first thing is, I've always found it fascinating how they fly and flutter so quickly.
These birds exist, but science almost says that they shouldn't even exist.
I'm actually hoping that the viewers can see the bird properly. But anyway, as you were saying, Ricardo.
Yeah, science says that they shouldn't exist. How fast does a human heart beat?
68 times a minute.
68, 72, 100 and something if you're, galloping full speed. These guys, 1,200.
1,200?
So their heart beats 1,000 times faster than ours.
And I guessed 120.
1,000 times faster than ours. They're just amazing animals. So they need a lot of energy. Hence the reason they visit the flowers to achieve their nectar, which is high energy. If you drank a cup of nectar, you would probably fly around this room. You would probably grow wings yourself. That's a lot. So for their tiny bodies, that nectar which they derive from each flower, it's like serious energy drink.
You said something that science suggests that they shouldn't exist. Why is that? Because of the heart rate, because of the amount of energy that they consume?
Yes. So their quest throughout the day is basically staying alive. They have no time to really rest and chill. Very short space of time. If they go for an extended period of time without caloric intake, eating or drinking that nectar, or even eating some of the insects, they could go into a coma and die.
So how many flowers do they have to visit on a daily basis?
Well, it depends on the type of flowers. Some flowers, like an immortelle, would have a lot more nectar than something as small as a vervine or a rostrata. So some flowers are tiny, some are larger, but they know what they need and they just keep going. And the amazing thing with these birds, they remember the flowers that they visited.
Really?
Yes. So they don't have a sense of smell. They can't smell. Most birds cannot smell. So they remember, they map out the flowers, and you see them just going and going and going. But this bird is just amazing.
What type, well, what species or subspecies of hummingbird?
The most common one, the copper-rumped hummingbird. Now, Trinis believe that there is one species of hummingbird, and they're all green. That's not true. We have what's considered one of the most beautiful hummingbirds in the entire world. So let's go back there. The Europeans were fascinated when they discovered the New World and they found for the first time hummingbirds. Because the only place in the entire world that hummingbirds exist is in the Western Hemisphere. There's none in the old world, no hummingbirds. So there are about 350 different species of hummingbirds.
Oh, wow.
Of which we have 19 here in Trinidad.
19.
So there's a lot in South America and a tremendous amount in North America also. But why Trinidad also became known as the land of the hummingbirds is that people started capturing these animals and literally killing them to send them back to Europe. So they were pumped into barrels with salt, and then they would be shipped to Europe, England. And it would have on it, place of origin would be Trinidad and Tobago. So all the hummingbirds coming into Europe, no matter where they're from, came through Trinidad and went to Europe. So further given the name, land of the hummingbird. Right? But we only have 19 different hummingbirds here. But they are amazing. And the most spectacular one is the ruby topaz.
I've got to go look that up, to be honest with you.
Well, put it this way. Most hummingbirds have the name of a precious or semi-precious stone for their name. The ruby topaz has two. Rubies
and topaz.
Yeah.
This guy looks like an emerald.
Yes, he has that emerald that gives that's the typical hummingbird color, but it will have the copper type color in his rump, his butt, so hence the name copper rumped hummingbird. Now, this guy, the reason we have him in a cage, why do you have a hummingbird in a cage and you have the naysayers already?
Yep.
This guy shouldn't even be alive today, but he is. We got him up in St. Augustine, up in the hills up there, somebody up there, what's that area up there?
Santa Margarita.
Santa Margarita, yes. Up there, we got a call a little more than a month ago for this hummingbird as a broken wing and just sort of going in circles on the ground. And I was like, oh gosh, we cannot fix a hummingbird's wings. It's too tiny. But we can give it an opportunity where it can fix itself. It can heal itself, bones fuse and so on. So we kept this hummingbird. We've kept it for more than a month now, and you see what it's doing.
Yeah.
It has gone from flopping and spinning on the ground. The first day that it got up on a perch, we were ecstatic. Then it got to the other perch. Now it's able to hover. So now, from tomorrow, it goes into a very large flight cage, and we're going to see if this bird can really perform functions to be able to release back into the wild. It's just amazing to know this bird went from being on the ground flopping around, and we've kept it alive and well as an adult. So right now we have a baby in our care, and we just released one about a week and a half ago.
This is the adult?
This is the adult.
Okay.
This is the adult.
Now I'm curious to know.
Yes, they're tiny. They're tiny.
Wow.
Hummingbirds are tiny.
No, I know hummingbirds are tiny. I'm just like, this is the adult.
Yeah. They are tiny. So the one we got in, just imagine what they call that, a TikTok? The little
yeah, those little videos.
Mints.
Yeah.
Right, that's about the size of an egg.
Oh, TikTok is different.
Right, yeah, you see what they got us now? Tic Tac, that's the size of their eggs.
Really?
They usually lay about 2, and they hatch from there. And so we got one probably a week after it hatched. And it has been in a week time. I looked at the bird when it came in, and I looked at it yesterday or day before yesterday, and I was shocked to know it was the same bird. The rate of growth, unless you're seeing it, it's just amazing when you go like week by week. So in the next couple of weeks, this bird is going to be flying, hovering, and ready to get the exposure and the training to go out into the wild.
No, I'm so glad that this guy or girl, are we able to tell?
I believe it's a guy. The colors are usually much more vibrant than the male. The females even sometimes look like another hummingbird. But yeah, we believe this is a young male.
Males are usually bigger or smaller?
A little bigger, I believe, in the hummingbirds. But in most birds, the males are bigger, but certain species like the raptors, the females are bigger, and so on and so forth. So hummingbirds it's just, their whole existence, like I said, it's just, when you read their heartbeats and their wing rate, it's just amazing.
Actually, tell us about the wing rate, because we spoke about the heartbeat, but the wing rate.
Again, also over 1,200. It varies. It can go up to, they believe, as much as 1,500 flaps. And they're the only birds that can fly forward, backward, up, down. They can, it's like an agile drone. Any direction of flight. So they can go into a flower, back out of it, through reverse, not falling backwards. And the funny thing about them, they cannot walk.
Really?
They cannot walk.
Because I've noticed it's not necessarily like crawling, just hopping, flying on the...
They don't have proper ankles, so they can't articulate that way. So they can hold on to the perch and flop and hold on, but they can't walk. And the other bird that likes that comes to mind, there may be others, but the other one that we have here in Trinidad comes to mind like that is the oil bird. Because you've dealt with oil birds.
Yes,
they
don't
walk. They don't walk at all, They might give you a little crawl around, but they fly. Look at that. There you go. See? The agility.
Look at the colors.
Within, there you go. It's just amazing. When we saw this bird doing that, it was just, we almost overcome with joy. It was just amazing to know that we finally were able to provide the proper diet, environment, nutrients for the animal to be able to heal itself.
Ricardo, I'm curious to know, and I'm pretty sure I've asked you this on the program before, but it's the dry season. We're experiencing drought-like conditions. It's only going to get worse, and some people like to leave out water. Some people like to leave out fruits just for all the animals. Who, A lot of people actually buy hummingbird feeders and they fill it with sugar and water.
Yes.
Is that something that is okay to do?
It's like your intentions are good, but without understanding the full concept, you can do a lot of harm. One, do not use brown sugar. Forget the concept about it's healthier and so on there. It has too much iron, which will lead to problems with the liver of these tiny animals.
Yeah, very tiny animals, yeah.
Then also, you should, if you're buying a feeder, you should buy a tiny feeder and try to change it as often as possible, because that water will sour, it will turn, and it will end up giving the bird a bad infection where it can't even open and close its beak properly, and it will die. So you love hummingbirds, you want them near your home, but by doing the wrong thing, you can kill them. You can harm them.
That's a painful, that's them suffering.
Yeah, it's a painful death to just see this hummingbird sitting there with its beak open, throat swollen, can't eat or drink. Yeah. It just suffers and dies.
So then what should people do? What's your best advice?
Put out for plants. Plants are a win-win all the way. So if you plant what we call hummingbird plants, a lot of lantana, it's a great one. Very cheap plant, probably $12. Lantana produces lots of flowers, has a pleasant scent, it looks beautiful, and it attracts hummingbirds. And there are quite a few other. The tubular type plants with flowers, rostrata and so on, produce, even the heliconias produce. I wouldn't tell you to go to Immortelle unless you have space. Immortelle. The Erythrina bidwilli, which is a vastly flowering Immortelle, beautiful red plumes, produces flowers year-round, and you will get them to come the natural way, the proper way. Plus, you'll get a lot of other birds also. You will get shade. It will keep your area cool. It's just an amazing plant.
You don't necessarily advise purchasing hummingbird feeders?
No, I don't. I really don't advise unless you have gone through the process of knowing and understanding. But then imagine this, you did your hummingbird feeders there and you did them, you put them out on Thursday, and Friday you went down Mearo and you had a great weekend, a long weekend there, and you come back up and you see the hummingbird dead because the nectar went sour, right? Because you had no one home to change it for you, you know. So the natural way is the best way. If you really know, there are people who know what they're doing and dedicated. They understand about even sanitizing them, even just changing them. You can't just change the nectar in them. You have to sterilize the bottles and the feeder part of it and stuff like that. So not many people are that OCD that they can do that all the time. So if you can't do that, just plant the flowers, beautiful flowers. Enjoy the oxygen from it and enjoy the beauty.
How is this extreme dry weather, drought-like conditions, how impacting upon these little guys? They're a lot smaller, their metabolism is a lot greater.
Well, they depend on flowers, and flowers are literally in bloom right now. So they've got, now with a little rain has helped some of the trees push out some more flowers. And, you know, from mango trees, you name it, everybody who's flowering, they will visit and try to get something from there if they can. Purely nectar. But they also eat insects, eh?
Okay,
because
so
they can't live, they can't grow bones and tissue and so on without protein and fats and fatty acid. So they do consume a lot of insects. And we have some amazing people in Trinidad in terms of photography, and there've been quite a few captures of the hummingbirds just about to snap a little fruit fly out of the sky. So you'll have to put fruits out. When you put fruits out, sometimes you see a hummingbird passing by. It's not for the fruit.
It's for the flies.
It's for the flies.
I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised when you put him in the fly cage more, because he's very active, very, very active.
He has mastered, he has earned his wings, as it were. He is just, you know, it's just a joy seeing him from, literally, I'm telling you, just spinning on the ground, because with a broken wing, he cannot articulate that. So the one that can work, he's moving it, and it's causing him to just go in a circle all the time. And now, and I'm gonna take him back up to Santa Margarita. We have the papers. We're gonna find that lovely lady who called us. We're gonna take this bird back there to release it, because I know she's not gonna believe that it made it. You know, when she asked me if it's gonna make it, I said the wing is broken. We can't fix it, but we will try to give him the condition so he can fix himself.
So you can say this is, to an extent, a miracle.
Yeah, you use that word there. Yeah, yep. But it's part of it is there you go, feeding away.
What is he feeding on?
Well, there's nectar in there.
Nectar?
There's nectar in there. Yeah, we make nectar. I'm not going to reveal the formula, but we make nectar for him. So when he flies about, he needs his energy, he goes after it. He's able to recognize it.
And
again,
he is flying this morning, and so he's,
They're very visual, right? So that's why on the top of the container, that funny looking flower thing there, it sort of mimics the flowers that he would see outside. So
okay, I got you.
Yeah, so it targets him and homes him into the feeding hole. So he knows what he's doing. He knows his feeder very well. It's just really amazing. I'm really excited to present this animal this morning. A lot of people don't understand what we do in terms of rehab. This bird would have been left on the ground, and I've seen within an hour ants take over and absolutely decimate a hummingbird.
Still alive?
Huh?
Still alive?
While he was alive, they came in and they killed him and ate him. Wow. So all I was left was skeletal and feathers. They took everything else within an hour. So the lady saved this bird, and then we had it, and now he's ready to go back. And this is what it all comes down to. Our trips to South America, to North America, wherever. It's about doing better to save the animals. And in doing so, we learn so much. These guys are also pollinators. They're very important animals for our existence. And the fact that they're beautiful just adds a whole other level of wow on it.
I'm thrilled, and I'm so proud, and you got a videotape tomorrow when you put him in the flight cage, because even this morning he's been so active. And
yeah.
What a treat. What really was a treat. Thank you very much, Ricardo. And, well, thank you for being a good guest.
Yeah.
Ricardo, to you and the team, all the very best. Enjoy the next week. I know it's non-stop. It's non-stop, but it really sounds like an adventure for a lifetime.
Yeah, and we hope to come back and be able to do so much. So part of the thing is that when I come back and I speak the language of conservation, the volunteers would understand better and can better dedicate themselves towards the cause, because they know what the cause is about.
And don't forget to pack an extra underwear. Very important.
Flipping on the other side is not an option? I was told that's one of the best ways to backpack.
Good luck to everyone who's camping with Ricardo. And don't forget to brush your hair.
Oh yeah, gotta look sharp.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us on AM Prime this morning. Always thrilled to have Ricardo Mead and any of the volunteers here on AM Prime. And thank you very much to our friendly guest. Really was an absolute treat. I'm Keaton Shaw, wishing you a great day ahead. And let's not end the show with me. Let's end the show with this beautiful, beautiful
couple ram hummingbird.
There you go. Can we get one more close-up before we bid farewell? We'll see you again very soon, ladies and gentlemen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
WESN.
The home of Caribbean content is growing, and we welcome you to be a part of the #1 platform for young personalities who are driven to make a positive impact in society. As we continue to reach every corner of Trinidad and Tobago through our daily broadcasts, our social media pages, or through our 75+ digital